Sagittarius, this is your tarot reading for the month of March. I mean, last month you were still recovering but making good progress. I think you're fully recovered now. And nevertheless, I can't say this is a perfect reading. It's not bad, but it's not perfect. I suppose there's two energies that jump out. Not necessarily that negative, well, one is, but they're not necessarily that negative, but just two that leap out at me. First is in the middle on the bottom row there, and that is that you are pessimistic, seeing the glass as half empty rather than half full. And the second, if you go up and to the left, that's you walking away from something, getting fed up and walking away. Not sure what you're walking away from or walking away to, but it is indicative of getting fed up and walking away. So we can say that this isn't a perfect spread, but after what you've been through, I think we have to say it's a reasonable spread. Central card there is the Knight of Wands. I mean, this is a very good sign of recovery, bold and brave, fast, but does tend to rush into things. Is that a warning? Well, it might be, because bottom left, which is the future, we have the Knight of Swords. He's also bold, he's also brave, he's quite fierce, he's quick, and he jumps to the wrong conclusion. So, is there a big warning about that? Maybe there is. In the past, we have the energy of the Empress. I think this is about you recovering. This is about you being in touch with your own feelings, but those of others as well, and learning to forgive. As I say, your current energy is that of pessimism. The energy that leads to the outcome is you walking away, but we don't know what you're walking away from or to. That leads to the outcome. What would change the outcome is you beginning to plan for the future, maybe even save for the future. Now, I find that quite interesting. And what is the outcome that the saving would probably change and the walking away creates? Well, it's one of teamwork. Now, another sign has had this juxtaposition of cards in these placements, and it seems incongruous to me that you're walking away from something and then you're working with a team. So I don't fully understand it. Nevertheless, I think it's time that we looked at each card in detail for you. I've said the overall energy is that of the Knight of Wands. I mean, it's not a bad, it's not a negative card by any stretch of the imagination. You're very bold, you're very brave, you're very quick. And if you look at the rendering, you're rushing into battle armed only with a stick. So you do rush into things, you do some slightly stupid things. Is there an indication of anything stupid here? Not particularly. Not particularly. But this is an energy that runs throughout all the other energies. So I have to be mindful as that as I look at the other energies. Yeah. Now, your past energy, or recent past, is that of the Empress. Now, it could mean that you're pregnant or you've got someone pregnant, but I don't think that's what we should read into it. Could be to do with being in touch with the environment. Maybe. It could be to do with enjoying life's little luxuries. Again, it could be. But what I think it's about is you having control of your emotions, understanding your emotions, but understanding those of others. Because if you remember, last month was all about your recovery from having been, well, yeah, you're having been deceived, So you're making progress on recovery, and I would see this as a card, very strong card of recovery. Often when we experience some sort of a trauma, its long-lasting effect is on making us somewhat pessimistic and making us believe that the unhappy past will repeat itself, and always looking out for it repeating itself. So your current energy is that of pessimism, is that of a glass half full, or half empty rather than half full, sorry. And you're probably missing out on spotting opportunities because you're so pessimistic. In fact, it's a self-fulfilling cycle. You lower your vibrations and you attract other lower vibrational things. And that's really how pernicious trauma can be, particularly if you've been traumatized, say, by a narcissist, as I was. The effect it has on you is long-lasting. Even when you believe you've done everything to get rid of the trauma, there's still this pessimism that hangs on. Remember, the overall energy is the Knight of Wands, and in the future we have the Knight of Swords, and they're very, very similar. Both are brave, both are bold. If anything, the Knight of Swords is even more ferocious. Both are very quick. But as the Knight of Wands jumps into situations without thinking, the Knight of Swords is much more cerebral, and he tends to jump to the wrong conclusions. Now, I've no idea what is the wrong conclusion you're jumping to, but I think that's what we must read into this energy here, that you are going to jump to the wrong conclusions, particularly because we've got this juxtaposition of these two knights. That is how I see it. Now, what leads to the outcome is you getting disillusioned with things. Well, you're on the way to recovery. What are you disillusioned with? Well, maybe, as we say, that trauma is still probably lasting, which is why you're pessimistic. So you're probably just disillusioned with how life has been. I don't know about you, but I now find it very difficult to consume anything. Since the the only thing I really am interested in consuming is holidays, and those have become so difficult to book and pay for since the health crisis. There is a wee problem with going overseas from Indonesia now. The Customs Authority have gone to an online system from a pen and paper system, and it now takes about an hour to sort out. Because like everything in Indonesia, they're not paid for decent software. It's probably the son of the head of customs has programmed it. So it's a bit of a nightmare, and the last thing you want to do when you're coming back off I don't go on long haul now, but a reasonably long flight is to spend an hour online trying to fill out stupid forms, Yeah, but not just that. I just don't find a way of being able to book holidays reasonably now. I used to use booking agencies, you know, and if anything went wrong, you know, you could contact them and get your money back and no problem. But now it's all AI and you can't get your money back, you know, so I won't use them any longer. So it's all just so, everything's just so difficult, isn't it? And I think it's that you're walking away from, you know it's a bit of a mountain to climb because you're walking away, but you know, you want to leave things behind. You're walking into the unknown to a certain degree. But you do feel that it's got to be better somewhere else. And that walking away leads to the outcome. But the way to change the outcome or shift things is by focusing on long-term investments. Rather depends on if we see the outcome as good or bad, and I see it as neutral, to be honest. We'll come to it in a minute. Can't be bad to be engaged in long-term savings, can it? You know, these are long-term. I mean, it means you believe there's a future, so that's positive. Yeah, it means that you believe there's a future. And there's been every suggestion from the universe this is a good thing to do. So I think this is the right thing to do, to be honest. Rather than get so preoccupied with walking off by yourself. As I say, this walking away, this leads to this outcome, but the outcome is teamwork. And now another sign had this same juxtaposition of cards or energies, and I can't remember how I interpret it. But how I'm interpreting this for you is, if you remember, I think you jump into conclusions or jump into the wrong thing. So you walking away probably wasn't such a clever thing to do. And after you've been up your mountain for a while, you realise that you need to work with others. Now this working with others it's a sort of a energy of you've each got your specialisms, but in order to create something bigger, you have to work together. And I think going up the hill, you realise that. But if you hadn't have walked off and focused on saving money, maybe, you know, there'd still be teamwork, but it wouldn't be such a sort of realization for you, you know, because I think maybe you walk away from the team, you see, and this is you coming back to it. I don't think it matters that much in the scheme of things. So let's summarize for you, Sagittarius. Sagittarius, your March Tarot reading is all about you rushing into things and jumping to conclusions. You have, by and large, recovered from the shocks of the previous months. You have, but what it's left you with is a somewhat pessimistic disposition. And this is often how trauma's long-term manifests itself, that you become unduly pessimistic over things. And it's very hard to shake, but that creates a sort of cycle of bad luck, and I think to a certain degree you're experiencing that. Not to a massive degree, but you're experiencing that. And I think it's for that reason that you get disillusioned and throw in the towel. You walk away probably from people that you're working with and want to go off up a mountain by yourself, as it were. Well, I live up a mountain more or less by myself, so you know, I know the feeling, I certainly do. But you're sort of leaving everything behind and a step into the unknown, and you know, my mountain's in Java. It's a hell of a step into the unknown for me. I'm quite happy here. I wouldn't say I'm gloriously happy, but, you know, I'm quite happy here. But it is a big decision, you know. But I think once you've done this, you realise that you need other people. You need to work with other people. Does that mean you're coming back down the mountain? Well, it's a metaphor anyway, but you know what I mean. You realise you need to work with other people. You can't do what you want to do by yourself. And, you know, even in the future, I think you rush to the wrong conclusions on things. You jump to the wrong conclusion. And I think this is all to do with this trauma, this negative perceptions you have of everything. Now, the universe is suggesting that if you were to plan more for the long term, investing for the long term, that things could be better for you. Now, I'm only going to do this as an illustration, but you know, supposing you believe that World War is coming, which many people do, you know, then you might think there is no point in planning for the long-term future or medium-term future because everything's going to get shaken up. But CBDCs would be another. But if you could throw yourself into thinking of a medium to long-term future and how you must save and do things for it, then these immediate worries seem to go away. And so that's just an illustration, but that's the sort of thing that I think is going on here.